Thank you, everyone. The hour of 2 p.m. having arrived, one could even say a little past, the Rules Committee shall come to order. The Secretary shall take the roll.
Chair Bradford,
Here.
Bizzarro,
Designation.
Daly,
Designation.
Davis,
Designation.
Dawkins,
Designation.
Fiedler,
Designation.
Frankel,
Designation.
Harkins,
Designation.
Harris, Kozarowski, Kruger,
Designation.
Matsey,
Designation.
McClinton,
Designation.
McNeil,
Designation.
Parker,
Designation.
Sanchez,
Designation.
Schlossberg,
Designation.
Schusterman.
Designation.
Chair Topper,
Here.
Benninghoff,
Designation.
Cutler,
Designation.
Delosier,
Designation.
Fritz,
Designation.
Kaufman,
Designation.
Plunk, Kutz,
Designation.
Lawrence,
Designation.
O'Neill,
Designation.
Allett,
Designation.
Pickett,
Designation.
Rowe,
Designation.
Druzy, White.
Designation.
Having established a quorum, the committee is in order to proceed. The chair moves to report HB 257, printer's number 2211. This legislation is an omnibus transportation bill that provides funding for mass transit from iGaming and PTTF, oversight of transit agencies, and extensions of the SEPTA Special Prosecutor and other transportation-related legislation. Before we proceed on the bill, given the complexity and immediacy of the issues before us, I thought it only prudent for committee members to have PennDOT Secretary and a former colleague and friend of this committee and this body provide a short analysis of the bill and answer a few questions that members may have. We understand this is a very urgent matter, and I'm glad that Secretary Mike Carroll, as well as Deputy Secretary Meredith Bajika, could join us today. And I also want to thank my minority chair as well for being here under short notice. We all recognize the extreme importance of this. And again, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I would also want to note we're joined by Scott Sauer, SEPTA's General Manager, to answer any questions about the bill's impact on SEPTA in particular. We're all aware of the immediacy of what Thursday means for a good chunk of our Commonwealth and the economic vitality of the Commonwealth as a whole. With that, though, I want to first turn it back over to Secretary Carroll. Do you have any remarks that you'd like to make at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Topper. The bill makes an array of changes, policy changes across the world of public transit. I'll take my minute or two to focus primarily on the Public Transportation Trust Fund, PTTF, and what the nuances of this bill mean to the PTTF. From 10,000 feet, Mr. Chairman, we have funds that are considered operating funds for transit agencies, and we have capital funds for transit agencies. And the essence of this bill, 257, moves capital funds to operating funds to the tune of about $750 million over 2 years. That creates a huge problem when it comes to the capital needs across this Commonwealth, and it does not solve the operating challenges. It simply postpones what is before this General Assembly and has been for the last few years with respect to additional operating dollars, not just for SEPTA, but for every transit agency across our state. So simply speaking, Mr. Chairman, the use of capital dollars for operating does not solve our problem, and in fact creates a new one.
Just give me an idea in terms of scope. How many capital projects will be affected or potentially effective if this transfer occurs?
Across this Commonwealth, too large to count, scores of projects. And of course, the projects are complex and expensive and sometimes span over many years in terms of the planning and the engineering, sometimes right-of-way acquisition, and then the actual construction of those projects. They're measured in years in many cases.
Understandably and rightfully, there's been a lot of interest on the safety and security of our transit systems. In particular, what will it mean for the safety and security of the transit systems and transportation in the Commonwealth as a whole?
It simply makes it more challenging for SEPTA and other transit agencies to meet the needs that exist to make sure that the riders have a safe experience. Moving capital dollars that in many cases will speak to those sorts of improvements in the network and shifting those over to operating prevents SEPTA and other transit agencies from taking steps and doing capital projects that would enhance the experience of the customers of the transit agencies.
Are SEPTA and PRT projects the only ones of risk of delay?
No, every single transit agency in our Commonwealth will experience capital deficiencies as a result of the shifting of $750 million to operating.
Now, my original understanding is that it would be the affected agencies using their own capital dollars. Are you saying that's not fully the truth?
So when it comes to capital dollars, PRT, Pittsburgh Regional, and SEPTA have dedicated capital dollars, and then the remaining transit agencies across the state, their funds are pooled for capital projects and allocated as applications are submitted by those agencies. So there's plenty of nuance here, but the essence of this is capital for SEPTA and PRT are siloed, and the transit agencies, the rest of them, have pooled capital resources.
What are the impact to local matches?
Well, I'll let Meredith speak to the precise numbers here because there's tons of nuance when it comes to local matches with respect to where all of the agencies are. So Meredith, if you can speak to the match requirement.
So the bill specifically says that for PRT and SEPTA, should they choose to transfer capital to operating, they would then be subject to a 20% match. Currently, their match is 15%. That 5% increase would then be dedicated not to operating, but to safety and security capital program projects. So the full 20% would not go to operating. It would then divvy off a portion of those dollars to capital. As for the rest of the agencies, there is some nuance in the legislation. We're unsure if how the match would work if an agency were to transfer capital to operating. Would they all be subject to an additional match of up to 15% on those new dollars?
Kind of shifting gears briefly, but I can't help but think as we start to see some of our transit agencies wind down services, the impacts cascade onto roads and bridges. What does that look like?
It doesn't look good, especially in Southeast PA, where the most people are, where the most vehicles are. You know, it is becomes a surprise to exactly no one that the Schuylkill Expressway and 476 and 95 and Route 1 and the array of highways in Southeast PA will be subjected to tens of thousands of additional vehicles every day. So not just the impact on the condition of the roads and bridges, but the time that folks will sit waiting for the queued traffic to move along will be significant.
I just want to, I don't want to take advantage of my own admonition that we're going to ask some brief questions, but I do want to make sure I understand one thing. The governor's request was $293 million, I believe. The recurring revenue generated by what's in front of us that was passed last evening by the Senate, on a recurring basis after the first year bump that's taken largely out of capital, is it $43 million?
As I understand it, that's the amusement, likely skill games taxation, but I'm not familiar with the actual language of that.
Or is it iGames? I'm sorry, I think it's iGames.
iGames,
I
correct.
apologize.
Mike, thank you.
Yeah. So the request is 293, 43 would be recurring from the iGames.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry?
So after year 2, there's no additional revenue identified. So those dollars are only recurring for the first and second year. The trouble with that is in year 2, as many of you are aware, PennDOT is required to hold our transit agencies harmless. So whatever they receive in a previous fiscal year, they're then guaranteed that amount in the subsequent years. Without those additional revenue dollars, PennDOT will have to dip into our operating reserves to be able to meet that additional $100 million requirement. And then in subsequent year 3, 4, and 5, there's no additional revenue identified. So again, we would have to tap into our operating reserves, which would deplete after in short order.
And one of the challenges, and again, I fully recognize that both chambers are guilty of this, and I feel bad for the folks that are trying to drink out of a fire hydrant, as we all are. The complexity of this and the sources of funds, it creates confusion, understandably. For SEPTA, my understanding is $168 million would have been what SEPTA's share of the 293 would have been. My understanding is 26 is new dollars? 26 million, is that correct? It's about 1/6 of what the governor said was necessary? And with that, if it's okay, Scott, Mr. Sauer, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that number's about right, 26 million.
Does this proposal, does that number solve your problem?
Oh, no, definitely not. As has been well reported, our structural budget deficit is $213 million. The governor's proposal allocates $168 million, of which there'd be an additional 24 from our match. And we still have to find another 20 of our own dollars to inefficiencies or cost reductions to close that full gap.
Can you tell me more about your capital project funds, the planned project, and what's the backlog?
Yeah, so we are reporting a $10 billion backlog of state of good repair. This includes the oldest rail fleet in the country. Our transit and regional rail fleets, our 230 cars on our regional rail fleet date back to the Nixon administration and have recently been subject to different fires that have occurred on those trains. While our staff does yeoman's work to keep that fleet safe and running reliably, they simply cannot continue to run without some replacement. Replacing those 231 cars in kind is roughly $1.7, $1.8 billion replacement.
In light of what you said, this sounds like almost an insane question, but this bill calls for using capital project funds to pay for operations.
Yeah, that's certainly not feasible for us. We have a $14 billion capital program that spans 12 years. To the Secretary's point, the funding that we receive from PennDOT today, $400 million a year, we use those dollars every single year to continue projects through the course of their life cycle. So we have $14 billion over 12 years. That was defunded and descoped from $17 billion. Because we just don't have the capital funds to continue with our program, hence a $10 billion state of good repair backlog. So our capital program is already short, given the funding levels that we have today. With the $750 million that's going to be removed from PTTF, assuming you just take that number through the formula, that's more than $500 million of SEPTA's capital dollars that would have to transfer to operating.
And again, understandably, safety and security is one of the obvious questions that's in front of us. And when you're talking about these out years, it sounds like, oh, well, these are amorphous concerns that we don't have to be worried about. If safety and security is a concern, are these concerns immediate?
They are immediate. I mean, our state of good repair backlog, as I said, our rail cars are aging out. We have track and signal and power systems that are also aging. SEPTA was created of assets that date back almost 100 years, assets that belong to the Pennsylvania and Reading railroads. And we are slowly bringing those assets into a state of good repair, given the funding levels that we currently have. But absent another $500+ million, that only delays further what we can do and what we can replace.
And I'm going to conclude by asking you the question I think everyone really wants answered, and probably why this is getting so much attention. Does the plan in front of us today stop, delay, or alter in any way the cuts that are currently planned to begin on August 24th?
No, we will continue with those cuts as scheduled.
Why?
Simply the fact that, first of all, there's a process here that has to happen, no matter who puts a proposal forward. And this is certainly not a proposal that helps us because of the deference of capital dollars. So we have to wait for a proposal that is both immediate and sustainable. 2 years is not the sustainable solution we were hoping for. We wanted something that would last much longer than that. We just came out on the heels of Act 89, which we extended as far as we could. We need something that's going to carry us into the future so we can do all the things that people want us to do to be more efficient and more cost-conscious.
I'd like to thank the two gentlemen, and with that, I want to turn it over to Leader Topper. But if I can, real quick, I just want to say something. And I know for the last few days, I mentioned kind of you guys have been put in the position of dealing with legislators that weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye. But I think there is a growing recognition, and I know sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel? Listen, here is what I know. A week ago, we couldn't agree with the other chamber that there was a problem or that there was a crisis. I think there's a growing recognition there is. I think there's a growing recognition that there is a blend of revenues that are available. There's a recognition that they need to be recurring. There's a recognition that both bodies have now shown that there's a $293 million problem. Both bodies have taken steps to realize that. I believe there are people of goodwill, not just within this chamber, but in both chambers who have shown that. There has been too much fire, but I believe now there's a little bit of light. A little bit of light because we recognize that in the next few days, if we don't act collectively, not just independently of each other, this will come to pass. The House is proud to say that we have moved, but we also recognize that the Senate has now shown that they too recognize the problem. It is our obligation in good faith to work together. And I want everyone to know that the House is both nimble and humble enough to realize we will not get everything we want. But I think the comments of the two gentlemen and gentlelady today illuminate how sincere, how severe, and how ominous the challenge in front of us is. We have work to do, and people of goodwill need to get about getting around a table and getting a solution for all of Pennsylvania. Again, I've already taken up too much time. Leader Topper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So one of my questions came up as we talked about the backlog, the projects that are waiting to be done. Just since January, the fund has grown by $400 million. Since 2019, when the PTTF was at $370 million, by the end of June of 21, it was at $1.3 billion. 2 years later, it had grown to nearly $2 billion. We see it now as over $2 billion. Where have the projects been that have allowed this fund to grow? So if I hear that there's a backlog of $10 billion worth of projects, and even since January, the fund has grown by $400 million, where are the projects? How are they getting funded? And how does money continue to grow into an account when there's a backlog of projects?
Can you speak to yours?
So I can speak to SEPTIS projects. So we are allocated a certain dollar figure out of that trust fund each year, for approximately $400 million. We allocate those dollars to projects immediately. We are working on sometimes long-term projects. We have a trolley modernization program that is ongoing that includes fleet replacements and infrastructure. That is a 15 to 20-year program. So we are taking dollars out of that $400 million every single year and advancing the ball on that particular project. The rail car replacement that I mentioned, once we push go on replacing the rail cars, that's a 7 to 10-year project. So we're taking dollars from our $400 million and allocating that project over those 7 to 10 years. So every dollar that SEPTA receives, we allocate to a project.
You said you were taking some money. So,
Well, we have multiple projects. I mean, we have lots of things going on, from rail car replacements and station upgrades, track and signal replacements.
so $400 million worth of projects have been assigned since January.
Yes, every year we assign every dollar we assign to a project.
How does the fund continue to grow?
So, similar to SEPTA, the transit agencies across the state have access to these funds, and the funds are fluctuating. The treasury balances move up and down as the draws are made with respect to capital projects, which is quite common across a range of lines in the budget, Mr. Chairman. So when in a moment in time, you look at the treasury balance, or you look at the various lines, 1513 through 1516, you're going to see a snapshot of that moment in time. But every single transit agency, including SEPTA and PRT, have capital projects that are important, that they invoice the Commonwealth for, and moving $750 million off the balance sheet or off the treasury balance may look like an easy transaction, but it has very detrimental effects across the state.
are all all $2.4 billion allocated? Or is there a certain amount that is kept back for potentially other issues?
So allocated, I would say yes. I mean, every single dollar has an expected use, whether it's for the Second Pennsylvanian, for example, Mr. Chairman. We have to have money in one of the lines in the budget to be able to meet the federal match for the $172 million for the Second Pennsylvanian from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh. So you may say that that money on the balance sheet looks like it's available. The federal grant comes through, PennDOT has to match it, there's the money. So it's those sorts of, it's just to look at the balance sheet and say there's, $1 billion sitting there, sure. But that $1 billion has expected uses tomorrow, a month from now, and a year from now.
Expected uses over the next potentially 7 to 10 years. But again, our crisis recognition is right now. Mr. Sauer, you just said that even if these funds were made available to you, in this bill, SEPTA will go about shutting down the lines over the next several weeks,
Yeah,
or cutting back services.
yeah,
Even if these funds were available, that seems to boggle my mind, that if we are in a crisis point that has been recognized, and there is, even if it's not, in your words, the solution that you were hoping for the next 2 years, but the solution that was offered, that there would continue to be a shutdown of services almost intentionally.
So understand that once we push go on a project, to take the shovels out of the ground or to stop the design, that costs more money. So it's not as simple as just simply reallocating the dollars for the need at the moment, because those dollars, because they have been programmed and allocated, that project is moving forward. And so every month, we draw another $25 million out of our capital program to pay bills.
And
to
every
keep
project has shovels in the ground right now.
every project either has shovels in the ground, there's designs ongoing, there's engineering
But these are
costs.
very different phases. I mean,
Of course they
these are different phases then of shovels in the ground and reallocate. There are many times when we look at, if we're in a design phase and we say we have to stop and now move to here to address whatever the need is. Again, I understand what is hoped for and what is seen as an ideal solution, certainly whether it be from the transit agencies, whether it be from PennDOT, whether it be from the majority party, but I'm also acknowledging that here we are in a situation that clearly, let's just say things haven't been going well on a whole variety of budget fronts. And we have a bill that was passed that would allocate X amount of dollars to try and avoid the crisis in whatever time frame we're looking at. I would think that would need to be acknowledged. So I understand the hopefulness. I understand the $213 million potential structural deficit. I believe ours right now is about $5 billion. There's nothing simple about now trying to reconcile the numbers. And so I think that the solution that is before us, while perhaps not perfect, has certainly provided us a path. I think this is important to learn about these funds. I think this is a conversation that we probably should have had quite some time ago. But what we do have now is a piece of legislation that addresses not only how SEPTA and the transit agencies are funded, but also goes through other steps to try and create sustainability and a path forward. On any of those other steps in relation to safety, in relation to fare increases, in relation to toll evasion, I assume these are things that would be welcomed by the agency.
Increase. We are already actively taking steps to reduce fare evasion. We have dedicated tens of millions of dollars to safety and security measures, including steps towards mitigating fare evasion. So yes, we are actively pursuing all those goals even today.
I think many colleagues of mine in the House, and also clearly by the debate last night from our sister chamber across the hall, view accountability as an important component of sustainability moving forward. I think that was also addressed in the legislation. So I appreciate answering the questions on this, on the fund, and look forward to taking a vote. I look forward to voting in the affirmative on this bill, because I do believe that during this time where we see the light, hopefully at the end of the tunnel, that this is something that could certainly stop any kind of a crisis from happening. I acknowledge my good friend, the Majority Leader, in his comments on the House floor that the Senate needs to demonstrate what they can pass. The Senate has done that. They have given a path forward in this product that I believe is something that is appropriate for the times of which we are in. And so I, as well as the rest of the Republicans on the committee, will be voting in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And my good friend, the Minority Leader, often gives food for thought, and I can't help but think that the $2.4 billion in the PLLF is available to spend is potentially the $11.9 billion that's currently available in the Commonwealth's General Fund, the $7.4 billion in the Rainy Day Fund, the $2.98 billion in the Motor License Fund. I'm often reminded by my conservative friends' admonition that there's a structural deficit, which I heard you just mention again. You spend the reserves, you will quickly find yourself without any fund balance. I don't think that's typically conservative accounting, using encumbered funds to pay for general operating and act as though we don't have a challenge. I want to reiterate again, though, even at this late hour, that there is a desire to bring clarity. As I said before, there's been a lot of fire around this issue, but not enough light. I believe today we've provided a little light into what is going on and what the challenges are. These challenges have gone on for a long time. This gentleman is new to his position. This gentleman is a friend of many of us, but is new to the job himself. But I appreciate you coming here today and giving us a little bit of input into what you're dealing with and what we need to do. And again, even at this late hour, the fact that for the first time there's a recognition that we need to address the problem, that there's an amount of this problem, $293 million. Both chambers have now shown a willingness to address it. Our governor has made it clear that it is a priority in budget after budget. It behooves all of us to immediately get about figuring out what blend of funds are available in a recurring, sustainable way to deal with this. And frankly, not put you in the position that my good friend admonishes the Commonwealth all the time about, not to put the entire Commonwealth in. So with that, I'm going to ask that we move on at this point and ask if there's any other questions. I apologize, my good friend.
I just want to say that the recognition of the problems that we have had in transportation funding as well as mass transit system is not a new recognition. Over the past 2 years, there have been pleas from this legislative institution, both the House and Senate, for changes that would set our transit system on a sustainable course. This is not simply a funding problem. This is a ridership problem. This is a demographics problem. This is a safety problem. And there have been many issues that have led us to where we're at today. The fact that a bill was passed, I don't think is the moment in time that you can recognize there was a problem. We believe that there has been a problem for quite some time. And I don't want to gloss over the fact that in this bill, it addresses many of the issues that we believe can turn around the sustainability in future years to increase ridership, to increase participation, because at the end of the day, that's what will make it sustainable. There's only so much money that can come from the state level, because after we blow through the rainy day fund and the surplus, which will inevitably happen at this current path, and after every reserve fund is used, there will still be a need. The Turnpike is a huge swath of it runs through my district. And let me tell you something. My constituents that drive that road understand what a user fee looks like, understand what increases look like. Literally one of the most expensive roads in the entire world of which to drive. So I simply don't want it to be thought that just 3 days ago there was a recognition. There has been a recognition for years. I think, as normally does, there comes decision points that have to be made, and we are at one now. And that decision point is, we do have a bill that we know can get the governor's desk if we would pass it, that can avert this crisis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I don't want to go back and forth. I would say, as someone who uses that turnpike to get from one side of my district to the other, and those of us in the southeast don't just know it as the road that's, you know, every 25, 30 miles between exits. We literally use it to get from one side of the 70th district to the other, and the 70th district is a little bit smaller than the district in Bedford County. We pay those tolls at an extraordinary level in southeastern PA, and I would say we pay those tolls in no small part, frankly, because this legislative body did not make hard choices in the past. When we came up to the dates that we're looking at, whether it's August 14th or August 24th, this body blinked, and it did the easy thing. It borrowed, and it borrowed in insane amounts. And now we pay it back. Largely those of us in the southeast who use the Turnpike as our commuter road. We pay it back like you would not believe. I say most of us use Easy Pass not because of the convenience, but it keeps us from seeing just how much we're paying for those tolls on a daily basis. We flinch from what is in front of us again. We will make those mistakes again. The time is upon us to make choices. I fear that those choices are being put upon you by our inaction. My hope is, even at this late hour, that there's a recognition that action is now required. I will be voting no. Having seen no further discussion, all those in favor of reporting the bill will vote aye. All Democrats shall be recorded. All Republicans shall be recorded as aye. Those opposed, nay. All Democrats will be nays. The Secretary will not need to call the roll. With that, I see that the ayes are 15, the nays are 18, and the bill fails. Seeing no further business before the committee, I move that the Rules Committee be adjourned. Those in favor say aye. The ayes have it. The Rules Committee is adjourned. Thank you all.